In-house v private practice. What is in-house legal? In-house legal often means a legal department within an organisation, so not a traditional law firm. You often have one sole client or a group of companies under one client. Your client is your employer, and depending on who instructs you, your client could also be your colleague. You could be an organisation which is a private company or in the public sector. What is private practice? So private practice is usually a traditional law firm. You will be acting for multiple different clients across different industries and sectors. Your client is not your employer. You could be a solicitor in a traditional law firm or a barrister in a barrister's chambers. And more often than not, you're working in a private company or a partnership. Positives of in-house. Firstly, you're part of the organisation, so you're not at arm's length like in private practice. Your clients are your colleagues, so you have a much better dynamic when it comes to work. In some organisations, you don't need to time record, so obvious benefits there. Often some of the work is beyond pure legal matters, so you may be assisting on policy, governance, and more. You can deal with different areas of law depending on the organisation. You can often work beyond financial targets depending on the industry or sector that you're in. Linked to this, you can have a huge impact on specific industries and sectors, particularly if you work in organisations such as the public sector or the charity sector. And you can have access to many different law firms as you are not in competition with them when you're in private practice. Challenges of in-house. Firstly, you can have limited resources depending on the size of the organisation that you're part of. Sometimes legal may not be the priority depending on what the organisation does. You may be faced with legal and commercial risk as a balance. Progression may not be as linear and as often as private practice. In terms of areas of law, you may have to deal with different specialisms compared to private practice where it may just be one. Responsibility, you may be having to deal with more areas of law and more responsibility as you are a resource that people often go to when you're in-house. And independence, you may have to balance the role of a solicitor with that of an employee. Positives of private practice. So firstly, resourcing. Depending on the size of the organisation, you may have many more resources compared to in-house. Priority. As lawyers are the main product of the organisations, they often will have priority in terms of the way business runs. Control. As a private practice lawyer, you can often control the work that comes in and out. Commercial. As a law firm is a profit-making organisation, they're often much more commercial in terms of the decisions they can make. Training. As a law firm is in the business of creating and developing lawyers, the training is often high quality. Specialisms. A law firm will have distinct areas of law and will be specialists in those areas. And last but not least, independence. A law firm has many different clients, so they're at arm's length compared to in-house lawyers who have their employers as their instructing clients. Challenges of private practice. So firstly, financial targets. As a profit-making organisation, you'll be chasing targets in terms of billable hours and new clients. It may be difficult to have control over matters, particularly if you're a junior lawyer. Your relationships may be limited as you have different clients and may have varying level of responsibility and level of work with each one. And last but not least, flexibility. If you're chasing financial targets, it may be difficult to have the same amount of flexibility as those in-house. In summary, it depends on a number of different factors of whether you choose to go in-house or in private practice. So it may depend on the sector or the industry that you're looking to go into. The size of the organisation will impact your career. It depends on what stage of your career you're at. And last but not least, what kind of impact you want to make in your career. Watch this space for more exciting content.